Today we're going to be talking with DenaDavis with ERA Realty, Advantage Realty.
Right.
Sorry about that. I almost messed that up again, didn't I? Based in Port Charlotte. So. Today we're going to be talking about real estate and everything having to do with it. But I guess, what I want to start with, what parts of the market are you currently focused in? I guess, areas I'm specifically talking about.
Okay. Generally, I actually live in Port Charlotte, but I focus in Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, all the way Cape Coral, Fort Myer, and all the way up to Venice, Nokomis, and I've been to Sarasota. So
yeah, pretty much where the business takes you.
Yeah, wherever somebody wants to find their dream home. I'm all about finding their dream home.
Okay, I understand that. So tell me a little bit about your background. I don't think we ever really talked about that, so I'm kind of curious how you got started in real estate.
Wow. It was kind of
you don't have to go all the way back.
I know. It was kind of I always wanted to be a realtor when I grow up. Well, I totally started off in accounting. I came from a background of construction.
Yeah. Is that here in Florida?
No, in Iowa.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Iowa. And construction, and then I got into accounting after school. And that was kind of a boring career. So I got into restaurant.
Which I did too. So
waitressing, and then all the way up to managing, owning, and then into sales. Yeah. So I was in food service sales, territory manager for 23 years.
Yeah.
COVID hit, and I thought, well, me being old.
Yeah. Changing careers here.
Yeah, long, and I'm just like, I'm not ready to retire. Yeah. So, hey, I always wanted to be a realtor. Let's check into taking classes.
What better place than Florida?
Exactly. Yeah. And, I didn't even know how strong the real estate market was down here. I really had no clue. I didn't get into it for the money. I mean, if somebody's there's a lot of people getting into it. If they're getting into it for the money, then I think that's totally the wrong reason.
Yeah, yeah.
But I got into it and have learned a lot and absolutely love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great business. I mean, it's interesting how it's changed over the years too. So I know that you do both. You're both a buy side agent and a sell side.
Right.
So I guess I had a couple questions here that I wanted to ask. So what looking at it as a buyer's agent, I mean, kind of what is your approach in helping clients find a spot? I mean, everyone knows that location is, the biggest thing, but when you're, I guess, interviewing a client, and they say, I want to find a house, what are some of the things that you ask them or talk them through to help them find a house?
Basically, what are your goals? Where do you want to be?
Yeah.
What are your hot buttons? What's most important to you? Do you want to be on the water? Do you want to be in an area where everything's around? Do you want to be no traffic? You have to feel the love. Basically, I get to know them and
kind of what their personality is. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And what they're looking for and what their hobbies are. And all those little things play into finding their happy home.
Yeah.
Because it's more about the feel.
Yeah.
When you walk into a house and actually, air or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because, we moved here, about 3 years ago, and I've always kind of been in awe of a good realtor, finding a good location for a client, because me and myself, I still don't know where I ultimately want to live, because I keep thinking, do I want to be down south toward Naples? Do I want to be up, toward Tampa and Disney World and all that? So it's got to be tough to really narrow it down for a client to find out, where exactly suits them the best, I guess.
Right.
But looking at, a specific location, I mean, if you had to pick out a few characteristics of, what, quote unquote, a good location, what are some of the things good schools, obviously.
Good schools. And, and I take that into consideration. If they have kids, how old are the kids? Yeah. We're looking at schools. We're looking at daycares in the area, where they work. One of the things I took into consideration when I moved down here from South Dakota was, okay, what part of the state do you want to be in?
Yeah.
And I found, after all my research, my job brought me to the West Coast, but as far as, anywhere from the northern part of the state down to the southern part of the state, I picked Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, because the weather was nicer here.
Yep.
And very few, I say this now, it's kind of funny, very few hurricanes will hit this area.
Yeah. Well, so much for that.
That's what I thought. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
exactly.
because I'm in Sarasota, and that was, there's a legend that I don't even know the legend, but there was some kind of legend that was going around that saying this is why Sarasota hasn't ever been hit directly by a hurricane. And of course, we did get missed this time, but it came very, very close. So. Yeah, so I guess we can kind of put that up.
But generally, they'll go up through the Gulf or they'll hit the east.
Most of the time they do. They kind of miss us.
So chances are,
But yeah, I mean, it's, talking about the hurricane, it's been, a crazy couple of years. I mean, we had, a lot of changes over the last couple of years, and not just because of the hurricane. I mean, COVID was probably the first thing that really changed things. It very much changed the market, and probably a lot of people would argue permanent changes with regard to where people live and work from and all
where
that.
they want to live. And they
have a house and
looking
everything.
at where they're living now and how their governments run compared to how this state is run and other states are run, and that's why they've kind of picked Florida. And then when everybody's gone from working from home or not really, because we had to because of COVID, and then we found out people are more productive. Working at home.
Which is kind of hard to believe, but I guess that makes sense because people.
It does. And then these companies aren't paying for a brick and mortar building, offices to, house everybody. So that's had a lot to do with the change in our area. Also. So, we've some of the changes that we've had is, we've had a huge run up in prices over the last couple of years. I mean, just 20% per year for the last couple of years that no one ever thought was possible, and it's unsustainable. We know that. But would you consider this to be a real estate bubble? Because some people think it is. No.
Yeah.
No. It's not a bubble. It won't be a bubble simply because most people are that. When they first came down here, and after it was cash, it was a seller's market, and they were cash buyers.
It's like 30% of the total buyers is like cash. I mean, that's a huge number. Yeah,
and they were selling their homes up north for, quite a bit of money, and they could buy something down here of equal or greater value for less money, and we won't see a bubble. Yeah,
I mean, I kind of knew what you were thinking on that. I feel the same way, that it's not a bubble, but. And one of the comparisons I like to make is, the market now versus kind of where we came from in 2008, 2009, when we had the, housing market collapse. And I think that's a big problem because a lot of people like to compare it to then and say that we're going to have the same type of market that we did then.
And they're looking for that to happen again, and it's not going to happen.
So what's the major difference between our market now and what we saw then, you think?
What we saw then is there was a lot of mortgages. There was a lot of foreclosures. A ton of them, and they put them all on the market. People paid cash for them. Right now, we have very few foreclosures. Very few. Low.
Yeah, the thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is when you listen to the media and and you see what they say about the foreclosures. And of course, they're coming off very low levels of foreclosures, but they say foreclosures have spiked 200% over the last 3 months. But of course, these are from extremely low levels of foreclosures.
Right. There were basically none, and then you go to a few.
Yeah, of course it's going to go up 200%.
Exactly. You go from 0 to 4, you're 200%.
Yep. So kind of getting back to, the home prices, the run up in rates also has been another problem that we've seen. I mean, rates have gone up from just this year. They were 3.5% or so in January, and now they're call it close to 7%, if not above that. I mean, it's a big run up in prices. So then, of course, we have the hurricane to deal with. What kind of impact do you think that that's going to have on the market short term? The hurricane and rates and prices.
Short term, the market is hot. It's going to be a frenzy. I mean, some people think, oh, I've been through this hurricane. I'm going to leave. I don't want to live here anymore. It's quite the opposite. It's a hurricane is a huge disaster. It's, unthinkable when you lose everything. But yet when you stop and think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's the price you pay for living in paradise.
Yeah.
We live in paradise down here. We have to pay a price. People are going to want to replace their homes.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing now. Some of them have to replace them. So the market's, going to be a frenzy. There actually are still people moving down here from other states, even though we did have a hurricane.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too, because I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about what how people are going to look at the market and see what they think about moving here after we had something occur like the hurricane, but and especially on the coast, because you would think that people do not want to move here, especially on the coast, with the fact that we just had the hurricane. But also read that the price appreciation that you see for homes that live on the coast, that are on the coast, are typically much greater than that of houses inland. So, yeah, it's kind of a risk-reward trade-off there.
And it is. And once you live there, it's your lifestyle. Yep. I mean, there's islanders that live on, Sanibel and Fort Myers Beach, for instance, that were totally destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to rebuild on that island because they're islanders. They love
bridge.
The island.
I heard the bridge is going to be rebuilt in a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, that should really help out the market, I think. And, plus, kind of like you said, I mean, there's a lot of people that want to live in Florida and always will want to live in Florida no matter what. And we moved here lived in California for years and years and years, moved to Oklahoma, and then we moved here through, multiple job promotions that I got. And we knew the risk. We knew not only was there risk of, hurricanes living on the coast, but there's risk of floods inland because it's, Florida's very flat, but we still chose to move here because, we love
and you get a
Florida.
warning. I mean, if you want to live in California, you take the risk of having an earthquake.
Yep.
You don't get a warning for an earthquake.
Yep.
You live in the Midwest, tornadoes, and basically a hurricane is a bunch of tornadoes, but we get a warning. We can prepare.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, all these disasters in the United States, the fires, the earthquakes, the tornadoes, you can't prepare for them. So basically, I think we do live in paradise.
Yeah. So that was kind of a short-term look, but I guess it'd probably be the same for long-term. I mean,
long-term, yeah, we're getting into now the baby boomers.
Yeah.
Are retiring, don't want to shovel snow, don't want to freeze to death. They want to live comfortably and not have to do a lot of maintenance and basically the weather has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
That and even though their kids, their children and their grandchildren might be up there, it's a place their children and grandchildren love to come visit because it's a break away from their lifestyle. In the weather.
Yeah. I mean, we lived in California for years and it was beautiful out there, but the cost of living was pretty outrageous. Real estate, taxes, everything else, and that's one of the things that we loved about Florida. And anyone watching this thinking about wanting to move here, it's still cheap compared to most of the other hot markets, such as
it really is.
Yeah, and that's why so many people are moving.
New York, New Jersey,
Connecticut, Jersey, all those places. And the fact that we have no state income tax is huge. It's about 13%, I believe, in California, just for state income tax.
Right.
So, it's a fantastic place to live for sure. But, I guess one of the other topics that, I kind of wanted to talk about is, and this is kind of a broad topic. Do you think now is a good time to buy? Because it's really tough talking to a client saying, rates are high. Yeah, prices are high. Yeah, we just got hit by a hurricane, but now is a great time to buy.
Timing depends on the person itself.
Yeah.
Is it a good time if you're looking at pricing? Who knows? Who's got that crystal ball that knows that housing pricing is going to come down?
Yep.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think so. It probably won't rise as fast as it has, but we don't see it coming down anytime in the near future.
Yeah.
A good time to buy is when you're ready.
Yeah.
When you're ready to make that change, when you're financially ready. As far as interest rates, and as well as I do, Connor, they got used to the low
Very
2,
low.
3%. But when you're looking at 5-6%,
Yep.
in the grand scheme of things, it's still lower than what it was before COVID.
Yeah, there's a couple of different things going on. Kind of getting back to what prices are going to do is that if you look at the amount of inventory that we have on the market right now, it's very low still. Very. And even though we've had some new construction come online, we've had some people sell their houses, inventory has gone up, not only because of the supply coming online, but also because of the pullback in demand. But, we've gone from probably a month's worth of supply, maybe up to 3 months. The normal amount of supply on the market is typically around 6 months. So we're nowhere near even, what you consider a normal market. So that in and of itself is going to be very supportive of pricing going forward. And with regard to rates, I can't remember what people say, like, marry the house, date the rate, or something like that. It basically means, you're beholden to the house. It's your house. You live in it. Buy the house that you love, but don't worry too much about the rate because you can always refi that.
Right.
And most people move or refinance within 5 years anyway. So no one's going to keep a mortgage for 30 years. So rate really shouldn't be that much of a consideration.
And you're right. It shouldn't be.
No.
And I think a lot of people, they look at that 30 years at 5%.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that change.
Yeah.
Like you said, in those 30 years.
Yeah, and kind of like I was saying, even if, rate is a major consideration, there's always, adjustable rate. There's always like you can get a temporary buy down of a rate. There's always things that we can do to make it easier on a client to buy a house now. So, yeah, rate shouldn't be a major consideration at this point. And if you're waiting for home prices to drop, probably not going to happen.
Probably not going to happen.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're into the rate. There's no good time, no bad time. Now is the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
if it's the right time for you and you're ready, do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One thing I did want to ask you real quick is, and I didn't have this on a list of things that I want to talk about, but not to kind of throw you into the bus here with something that's off script, but so. What do we see now? I mean, what are the possibilities now when looking to buy a house that we didn't see before? Because, before, they had people that would buy a house sight unseen. They would waive inspections. We don't necessarily see any of that now. I mean, there's a lot more possibilities when buying a house now that we didn't have, 6 months ago.
Right. We don't have the highest and best so much as that we had, before on all of them. I still have recently sold a couple houses sight unseen.
Yeah.
But it's, like I said, I walk in, I videotape it for them.
Yeah.
And I have to feel the love. And that's just the way I am.
Well,
if I walk into a house
trust in you,
and I feel the love and there's a wow factor, then I show them that. They trust me,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And if I walk in and it's just, I don't know, then no.
Yeah.
I'm
probably
not going to sell it to them.
Yep.
I guess I don't make a very good salesperson because they have to feel the love or...
Well, there's. I mean, you could be struck with analysis paralysis when looking at a house. There's so many different factors to consider that you kind of know you like it or you don't.
Right.
That's kind of the way it is. When
it's
buying a house.
The feeling you'll get when you walk in the front door.
Yep.
And what you see when you walk in that front door.
Yep. So probably the last thing that I had is what would you say for like a forecast over the next 1 to 2 years in the housing market? Kind of what big picture. What do you see changing or?
I don't really see a lot. We're not going to see prices going down.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see prices going up as fast as they have in the past.
Yeah.
They'll steady out, even out a little bit.
Probably single digit appreciation, maybe something like that. Yeah. Okay.
A lot of people now are going to newer builds or wanting newer builds. I think one thing that the hurricane has taught us is what to look for when you're buying a house.
Yep.
Not so much where, but the builder, and you really got to check into. There's a lot of different variables.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's I'm hearing a little bit of supply concern from some of the builders. Not necessarily concerned. There's not so much supply out there that it's going to impact the market negatively, but I guess they're afraid of being caught with too much supply, so they're trying to look for ways to kind of reduce that, sooner rather than later. Mm-hmm. So you could see a little bit, more deals when looking at a new construction as opposed to existing, but you never know. So. Anyway, I think that's about all I had. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Probably give me a call on my cell
Okay.
or text me.
Okay. What's your cell number?
605-359-3210.
Okay. Awesome.
It is a South Dakota cell phone number, but, I've had it since
She is local.
1992. But I am local.
Okay. Awesome. Well, great talking to you today.
Great talking to you, Connor.
Thanks, Dena.
Thank you.